gaze into the abyss. Yeah, this is something you do not want to miss. No, I'm going to tell you what it is. Yeah, so you better be ready, cause you know we're gonna uncover all the secrets. Yes, unlock the universe, that's just what we're going for. This is how you do. Yeah, look up in the sky, what's that? Ooh, that's a UFO. Ooh, is that a beaming light? Ooh, it looks so cool. I'ma just wants to go touch it. Hopefully, I'ma goes on a spaceship, right? Then he come back, cause that's what I do. Roll high. Ooh, is that a big furry man walking in the woods? Woo, hey, that's Bigfoot. Whoa, is that big furry man walking in the woods?
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Brief Gaze into the Abyss. I'm Philip, and you are missing your usual intro given by Zach, who is in Argentina right now on assignment. Just kidding. We are broke. He is there for work. And that is Nikki. And so, hey, Nikki.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could just send people to like different parts of the world just to do this little podcast.
I know,
Awesome.
yeah. Zach is investigating supernatural activities in Argentina. Yeah, totally. No. So we need money badly.
We need a couple listeners first.
Yeah, we need listeners. Awesome. So, Nikki, what are we talking about today?
I'm like super excited about today. I hope we can do this like more often. Right now, it's going to be a little bit limited for a while because we don't have that many people that have submitted stuff. But what we're going to be talking about is just stories that I've heard from people that have shared them with me. It's actually really interesting that like, you could know somebody for years and, you're really close. And then you just happen to mention like that you're kind of into, weird phenomena, whether it be aliens or ghosts or Bigfoot, whatnot, and it's like suddenly it's like the floodgates open and they just let it all out. Like, and that's what happened.
Right.
Like, I mean, a couple people have shared stuff with me, prior to us starting the show, but I think I got like 2 or 3 stories from people I have known for years that just suddenly were like, oh, I have an experience.
Yeah.
That
Well, that makes so much sense because it's just like, oh, here's a safe place. Here's a safe person I can share this story with. I really would like to share it, but you don't know who's gonna like think you're crazy if you say it. And I just want to note that, like, okay, guys. Everybody that's listening, this is a safe place. You can share your story. So if you're a little bit hesitant because you're like, they're going to think I'm crazy. No, we love you. We want you to hear your stories and we want to talk about them and spread the word of the weirdness because that's what we're all about.
Oh, I like that. Spread the word of the weirdness.
Yes.
It's totally like, I'm so glad you said it like that because it's just it's true. Like, I mean, I know that we kind of have come across in previous episodes, like we joke a lot about, the things that we talk about and stuff like that. But I think you kind of have to in a lot of things. Because you don't want to be like super serious about it because, we don't know. We're not scientists. We don't know.
Right. And Nikki and Zach and I, we try to approach this podcast as when we joke around, like it's kind of, we're friends. And that's kind of how I like view the audience. So, like we're just cutting up, relaxing, and sharing some good stories with you guys. And it's like, so that's the kind of vibe we try to put on. So that's what where the jokes come from.
Yeah. So I have 2 stories that I'm going to share with you guys tonight. One I'm like super excited to share because it was one of the I would say once I got into the kind of the alien phenomena, it was one of the stories that I heard early on and that really just kind of stuck with me. But that one, so I'm actually going to read that one from a book, which sounds like, oh, why would, this isn't a listener story. But so, yes, I know this lady is not one of our listeners, but
We're desperate.
She has a super cool story, and she has like a pretty credible past and stuff like that. And I actually have met her in real life. Like her name is Denise Stoner, and I actually had a friend. She's the reason why I got into all this. Is she started experiencing things, her and her family, and when she went to seek out help, this was the lady that that responded, this Denise Stoner. And so she's I think she's the director right now of the Florida Research Group for UFOs. She's also like a high up there in the MUFON group. She's like a field investigator. She's also like the head of the abduction research team for MUFON. I believe at one point she was the director for Florida State MUFON, but I think
Wow.
that she's passed that on to somebody else in the last couple of years. So that's
She
like
is.
the UFO side. So she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
She's heard some real fucked up shit.
Yeah. Well, no, she's definitely packing the cred. I mean,
Well, the UFO cred, but she also she has her I don't know, I tried to look up online what her actual like education and background were, but I couldn't find, like, it looks like her site, I don't know what's going on with her site. It was really weird. It was like it said her name, but then it has somebody else's bio in there, so I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah,
we're gonna look past that.
yeah, I'll try to find that out. But I know that she has her education, like a business degree. I know it's at some level of college, but I'm not sure. And she also psychology. So and from what I've met her, she's a very intelligent woman, very, very super nice person, just really wants to help people out. And she's just that type that she'll just listen to everybody's story, and she doesn't judge. She's a really wonderful person. She also was in the military for a time. I'm not sure how long and what she did, but I know she was in the military. And she lives in Orlando, so I've gone to several of her MUFON meetings, which are so fun. They're
What
really
is
super cool.
for some of the listeners that are just joining us? What is MUFON? What does that stand for?
Ah, that's right. Not everybody's a total nerd like me.
I said for some of our listeners, but what I really meant was me.
You.
Yeah. What's MUFON?
MUFON stands for Mutual UFO Network. So it's kind of like if there was a, like, I don't want to say government group, but I mean it's kind of like they're like one of the main research groups in the world. Like they're the ones that I would say they're probably the biggest organization when it comes to it. They have like people that can get training, and like you and I, we could become field investigators if we just study up and pass the test.
That would be so neat. God. But I have a child. I have no life.
I've actually thought of doing it, but I'm like,
you should.
I can't quite push myself to that point
Oh,
yet.
Nikki,
But
I think you would love it, though.
I might, though. That's actually, if you ever listen to the last podcast on the left, which is like the best podcast ever.
Yes, I agree.
And if you listeners out there have never listened to that one, go listen to that. Stop listening to ours.
Yes, it's so good.
But anyway, Henry actually is a member of the MUFON.
Nice.
He always kind of makes fun of it, but it's actually really cool. So yes, Mutual UFO Network, and they are one of the head honchos for alien research. Cool stuff.
That is really cool.
So I guess I'll just dive
right in
with the story. So, like I said, I want to also make it clear, like I go to these meetings and people are nice enough to share, or some people share their stories. A lot of these people have experienced crazy, traumatic things, and I would never like share any of that kind of stuff. But the only reason I'm sharing hers is because, like I said,
It's
she wrote it
published,
in a
yeah.
book. It's
Yeah.
published for the world to see, so she's not trying to like hide the story. So it's not like I'm just sharing my friend's, story without her consent. So, all right. So I'm actually first gonna just share that her story is really interesting, and this book is really incredible, and it goes through like most of her life and her experiences. And she's one of those types that she's been experiencing things since she was like, I think she said the earliest memory that she has is when she was 3 years old. Of
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
and this was like it wasn't. It's not like it wasn't a clear memory. It came up in, which is controversial, came up through like hypnosis sessions. But so that was like one of the earliest memories that she has of it,
Hmm.
and it's been going on her entire life. I mean, I think even the last time I saw her, which was maybe 4 months ago or so, she was still experiencing things.
That's
It's just really
crazy,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, so this is just one of her stories, and this was, I think she was like a teenager, I believe at this time. So here we go.
Without any further ado,
Yes.
sorry.
All right. My home was at the very bottom of a hill, which was also the end of the road. I was 3 or 4 houses away from my best friend's home. For some reason, I was hyper vigilant, aware of everything around me. I noticed that the sounds of the summer insects had silenced. None of the neighborhood cats were wandering about as usual. I turned to see a tall man, taller than usual, his stride moving along towards me faster than it should without running. He was swirling his arms far out in front of him, arms that were unusually thin and too long. The whole picture was wrong. Who did he remind me of? A series of memories fired in my brain. A young girl running down the street away from a monster of a man with a device in his hand shaped like an oil can, clicking, dropping a substance on me. This couldn't be happening to me again. This person was going to overtake me, and then what? I was a teenager now, not a child going back to my bed. I felt he would take me right off the street against my will at dusk. Where were all the homeowners, the folks who usually spent these pleasant evenings outdoors walking or visiting before going in for the evening? There was not a sound. I picked up my pace and began to run, thinking I would dash to my best friend's home, hoping they were home, knowing I would be safe and could probably just open the door and walk in without knocking. He was gaining speed, only a few feet from me now, his long, ugly arms reaching for me already. His face could be seen clearly at this point, those eyes and head absent of hair, pale flesh that was not the right color. This made no sense. I was hoping this was a costume of some kind and a joke was being played on me, but the odd feeling in my brain told me it wasn't the case. I turned onto the gravel path leading to the front door and twisted the door handle while banging hard on the door with my other hand. I turned to look over my shoulder to see the man run off to the side of the house and disappear into the backyard. My friend's dad answered the door and saw the immediate fear on my face. He stepped aside to allow me to enter. I was talking so fast he could not understand what I was saying, but did hear me say I wanted him to call the police. He was the father of 6 children and knew me really well, so he did not question my request. He called out to all the other children who were home and asked them to move to the family room to sit together until the police arrived. My best friend was there, along with 2 young brothers. We sat together on a long sofa, all being very quiet. I did not describe what I knew, but just explained there was a man chasing me. I felt foolish saying any more than that and thought I would not be believed should I describe the situation any further. Minutes went by. All was quiet. My eyes were drawn to the sliding glass doors along the wall at right angles to the sofa I was sitting on. There was no light on, and the backyards in this neighborhood were fairly large, filled with almond trees and California foliage of all kinds. Soon there was a knock on the door. My friend and I looked up to see her dad go to the door and open it, allowing a police officer to enter. Although we girls were in our sophomore year of high school, we thought this policeman was very young. He asked to speak to me and walked through to the family room where all the kids were sitting. He interviewed me regarding the man who chased me. I felt I would not be believed should I say he was taller than normal, had arms that were odd, a gait that could not be easily described, and he could outrun me by simply speeding up his walk and seemed to be taking overly giant strides. I thought about the possibility that his feet were not touching the ground, leaving an inch between the soles of his feet and the surface of the road. But no, I couldn't say this to the police, or they would laugh and accuse me of making a false report. So instead, I simply said I had been chased down the road by a tall man who had his arms out in an attempt to grab me. I didn't know him and I felt threatened. Having said this, the policeman exited via the front door and proceeded to the left side of the house, heading to the backyard. The kids sitting on the sofa were watching through the sliding glass door and saw no one while this was going on. I went back to sit on the sofa. We were all waiting for the policeman to come back to say he had caught the culprit, so all would be safe. Suddenly, we could see the policeman's flashlight from far in the back left portion of the yard near the fence. It flickered on and off as he searched the area. In the center of the yard was a huge trampoline everyone enjoyed jumping on several times a week. The front end of this could be seen faintly through the glass door. Suddenly, a shadow crossed in front of the trampoline, blurring the shape of it. I and my friend noticed it right away. We told everyone to look, to try to locate the flashlight. It was still shining in the back left corner of the yard. Without warning, the shadow moved rapidly from the grassy area to the glass. There stood the creepy man in all his odd glory. He was almost pressed against the glass door so everyone could get a look. No one made a sound. Here was a thing that didn't look quite human. The top of his head disappeared above the frame of the door, making him at least 8 feet tall. Only the lower face could be seen, the inside light reflecting on the gray-blue skin tone, revealing wrinkles where they didn't belong, and large eyes staring in at the group on the sofa. I noticed that only the head moved, not the eyes themselves, as if they were seeking me out. His eyes locked with mine. I attempted to look away, but could not. I turned to see the other children sitting stock still, unaware now of anything around them, not responding, not reacting to what they were seeing. This creature was standing with those long arms, so long they were past his knees, and 4 fingers with arthritic-looking knuckles and a body that was too thin. Anorexic would be a good word just to describe the being's all-over appearance. There was some sort of outfit or uniform, but I could not really describe it, only that it was the same color of this creature's skin. I felt compelled to stand up and move toward the glass doors, open them, and step outside. My friend's dad was not in the room. I wasn't aware exactly where he was. I began to rise from the sofa in slow motion, my eyes locked with this tall man. I knew him from somewhere, and even though fear rang through my every nerve, I had no doubt I would move outside, as that was not something I had control over. My mind was foggy, my memory not clear, so I could not recall where I had seen this man before. Just as I was about to open the slider, the front door burst open. There stood the young policeman, his eyes as big as dinner plates. He quickly slammed the door behind him as if the devil was chasing him down. My friend's dad came down the hall to the left where the bedrooms were to see what the noise was. He was a highly intelligent, scientific man who did not get overly excited about much of anything. He was very observant and could see there was fear on this policeman's face. "What has happened here?" he asked. "Did you catch our bad guy?" The reply we all received was a total surprise. The cop didn't speak for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. He looked up at the small group gathered just inside the front door. He said, "My statement to you will be that I have only one flashlight, and I am not going out into that backyard again by myself. I can't call backup because I don't believe I could explain the reason I would require it. I am leaving now, so let's hope what is going on back there has gone and won't return." I now began to get excited, wanting this thing to be captured. I raised my voice and in no uncertain terms told the cop to get back outside where he would find the bad guy, as he had been standing at the back door looking in at us the whole time this policeman was out there searching for him. The policeman opened the door and although he didn't run, moved as fast as he could down the walk, jumped into his cruiser, and took off down the street.
Damn.
It's creepy, right?
Creepy as fuck.
I can't even imagine. Yeah. Even if, a lot of people say, it's just made up or whatever, or, it's like, regardless, it is terrifying.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I tend to believe her, just from other parts of her story and stuff, because that's actually mild compared to a lot of, because she actually goes into depth in other stories about like her being abducted and what they do to her, and stuff
Oh
on
gosh.
their. Yeah, it's really incredible,
Yeah.
like incredibly scary. But
Yeah, especially the way that she described them. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. I can just visualize it. So, you've met her, right?
yeah, many times. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So like when my friend started having her experiences with her family and stuff, um, it, it turned out that it wasn't like these experiences started out of nowhere. It was more like they had been happening for a long time,
Hmm.
and they were just kind of figuring it all out now,
Yeah.
like what all the weird stuff was
Yeah.
and stuff. So Denise was the one that responded when they were looking for help, and so she actually came out to their house a couple times. I met her there, and she stayed over at their house to like do, using like recorders and cameras and
Right.
all these other kinds of devices that they use to check things out and stuff.
Wow.
Um, no, I mean, but mostly I've met her. Like I've probably gone to like maybe 4 or 5 of the meetings that she's held in, for people that have experienced things. Even though I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's probably a very good thing, but I have never really truly experienced
Yeah, I would
anything.
say that was a good thing because anytime I ever hear any stories about alien abduction and they're the stories are very similar to what you just read. It's a harassment type
Yeah.
deal that's going on. It's like, so yeah, I would
Yeah.
use the word fortunate.
A lot of people don't even, they don't like her. A lot of her experiences, like she'll have like some waking memories of things, but
Yeah.
a lot of them she didn't
She thought
know
they were
about until she went under
nightmares.
hypnosis. Yeah, either nightmares or who knows, but but
So
she just didn't remember. Period.
before we started the show, I told Nikki, I was like, I don't really have any alien experience. Like, I got a couple stories where I think I've seen a ghost or whatever, but I didn't really have any alien stories. And then I told her, well, there's this one dream I had.
Yeah, dream.
Yeah,
Quote.
and after I told it, like I was expecting Nikki to just laugh and say, "Oh yeah," but it was like silence for a little bit, and I was like, So maybe I've been abducted. I don't know. Who knows?
Should I tell him it was real? Or
It would make a lot of sense.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I mean, that's what I say. Like I don't remember ever experiencing anything, but who knows? Though, oftentimes though they say that these kind of things are generational. Well, not generational. I don't think that's the right word, but they kind of go down through the generations. Like
Wait, what?
my
Like
friends.
they pick a family?
Yeah, they pick families and they kind of
That's
just go through, and yeah, that's one of the theories that seems to be a pretty big one in it, is that that it's almost like, so like when they talk about them possibly testing people, genetically testing or doing these like scientific experiments, it's like maybe they're trying to see what happens through somebody's family.
Right, their genes whenever they
Yeah.
introduce something and they, well, let's see how this messes up their spawn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and I don't have any.
Let's talk about theories on like the reasoning behind the abductions. Like what so that must be one of them. So they think they're testing us. They're wanting to
Yeah,
do gene manipulation.
yeah, I think that's one of the main. I mean, there's tons of really fringe theories and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I hate to bring it to this point, but I mean, quite honestly, X-Files gets into it pretty well sometimes. I think they go a little bit crazy with some like, but if you
Well, yeah,
stick
it's
to
a
like
show.
the true story, like like the
Mhm.
episodes that really center around the ongoing story throughout the
Right.
seasons.
Yeah.
Like a lot
It's
of
kind of
it,
like
they
it's the SVU, Law and Order SVU. It's like these stories are depicting are from recounted events.
yeah. So like there's a lot of people that believe that that they're harvesting babies from us.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly.
Baby farm.
There are also theories that that maybe there's some aspect of us that they don't have themselves and are trying to acquire and like learn how they can, acquire that
Oh,
aspect.
they want to learn how to love.
Yeah, or something like that, Like,
Yeah.
so that's just another.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then they're doing a really bad job.
Yeah,
Because
which would
most
make
people are
sense. It sounds
terrified.
like a Star Trek episode. Love it.
So it's fun stuff to really dive into, but it's also very terrifying, some of the stories that you hear.
Yeah.
And like I said before, regardless of whether or not you believe these people are stories,
It's scary.
or even if you think that sure they probably did experience something but they're just misinterpreting it, but it doesn't matter. They are terrified in all these situations,
Like in my dream. It was just a
there are
dream, but I
some,
was terrified.
Really? Like you woke up terrified, or you were terrified in the dream?
Both. I actually had trouble sleeping for about a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Huh.
Yeah, and I was the weird thing is I wasn't a child when this happened. Like I was in my mid-20s and I would sleep with the light on. That's like how bad it scared me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. It was like a really intense thing. So
I think you should go under hypnosis.
No, I don't know. We'll talk about it later.
That'll be future episodes if we actually get some.
We do listeners. It live.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, especially not with Zach around.
Yeah, well, who knows what's going to come out, But yeah, like seriously, I think I was like 25, 26. No, I was probably 24 actually, 24, and it freaked me out. Yeah.
Well, I'll say, geez,
it was intense. I eventually got over it. And...
Wow, yeah, I'm glad.
There you go.
All right, so I told you that we have 2 stories, so I'm going to share another. This one's actually quite quick. This one is one that was shared to me from a friend that I've known for a few years. He didn't tell me this story like right after this podcast or anything. He actually told it to me maybe a few months back when I happened to mention that I liked alien stuff. And he, it's just like we were saying before, he found out that I was open to this and he was like, oh, you know what? So,
right, yeah.
And so this is what I got. And he lives in Venezuela. Poor thing.
Yeah.
Even though he desperately wants to move here, but he lives down in Venezuela. That's where he grew up. And I think the story, he said that he believes it was in July of 2006. So he was probably in his young 20s, I believe, at this time.
Okay.
He said it was in the middle of the day and he was taking a nap. I'm like, what were you taking a nap in the middle of the day for? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I do that like every weekend.
Yeah. Was he stoned?
Possibly. No, actually, I don't think he's ever done that before, but I don't know.
That's usually why I was napping in my 20s. No, I do have to clarify though that like my experience, like I was not doing anything. It was a work week. It was a work day. All weeks are work weeks, but this was a work night.
So here he is. He's napping, and he says around 3:00, he suddenly woke, and when he looked up, Standing at the foot of his bed was a tall, here we go again, thin, humanoid type creature with very pale, almost white skin. It was so tall that its head reached above the door frame. So I guess at the foot of the
What?
bed is where this thing was standing, and then like behind
It's
the
almost
foot of the bed is the wall
exactly,
where his closet was.
almost exactly how she described it.
I know. It's like almost the same like creature, except for I think the coloring is a little different. Hers, I think she said it was like a grayish blue,
Yeah.
whereas he was saying that this was like very, very pale.
Huh.
So, but yeah, like in hers though, very tall, extremely tall, like taller than like the door frame of a closet. So if we think about how tall a closet is, what is it? Maybe like 6.5 feet high? I don't know
Sure.
like how tall are door frames? Maybe even taller
Yeah,
than
standard
that.
door frame. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and
Yeah.
its head was higher than that.
Seven and a
So
half. Yeah.
yeah, there we go. So it was probably 7.5, 8 feet tall.
Because I know I'm like 6'5", and the door's
Yeah.
still like.
Yeah, you wish. And the similarities continue. He said it had like super big, dark eyes. And he honestly doesn't remember seeing like anything else in the face. He just remembers seeing those dark eyes. He doesn't remember if it had a nose or ears or even a mouth or anything. So here he is. He woke up and he sees this thing at the end of the bed, and he's like, oh, like, about to freak out. And this thing is just staring at him. And then suddenly his body just goes like completely rigid and still, like he's paralyzed.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
He said like he couldn't move, he couldn't scream, he couldn't like do anything, and he was just kind of stuck there, and all he could do was just watch this thing at the end of his bed, and it just stood there. And then its head like slowly turned to the right, not him, the creature's head. And then all of a sudden he got this weird feeling in his body, and of course English is his second language, so he had a little bit of trouble trying to describe exactly what the feeling was, but he said it was kind of like something inside of him, like it was contracting from within, like all his muscles and everything, and it just kind of like spread outward through his body, and then he just passed out after that. And he doesn't remember anything else. And then the next thing he knows, he woke up. He said he's not sure how long he slept after that, because he wasn't even sure what time it was when it happened.
Yeah.
He thinks it was probably, maybe less than an hour
Uh-huh.
later that he woke up. And like you were actually just saying, he could not sleep for weeks afterwards. Like, I mean, he had a very difficult time sleeping afterwards. And yeah,
Nikki, you are freaking me out right now.
Uh-oh.
Because a lot of the things he like is like, oh, this is exactly the same experience I had.
Did you see something? No, that's right. You said you saw something.
Yeah. Like they were looking over me. Like I was.
But yours were the little gray guys, right?
What's that?
They were the little grays.
I couldn't tell.
Yours? Oh.
Because I couldn't move, and I was just looking up. So, like, imagine you're having surgery,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, and all you can see is like their heads leaning over you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That's creepy.
My dream I had. The dream I had.
The dream. We'll say it's a dream for you, so that you can sleep tonight. You have a daughter that you have to be strong for.
Yeah. Yes. I'll just stay up all night.
And I mean, he had a couple other stories from over the year. He kind of feels like, and like I kind of talked about earlier, his mom also experiences and has some stories. She actually shared one of her stories with me that I might share another time if we do this kind of a show again, which I'm definitely think we're gonna, because this is fun. And hopefully we get more people. Hint, hint, please send in some stories. But yeah, so like it seems like it's gone through like his family a little bit. His mom has
Well,
experienced, and
that
now he
follows the
has.
whole the whole generational thing you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
The
and
only thing my parents have experienced is the Holy Ghost
the whole oh god,
because they're super
that's
religious.
scary. That's
So
scarier than aliens.
I agree.
That's like that show that's like going. I think it's kind of becoming a really big thing right now. Is that
Yeah?
that show on Netflix, the Abduction in Plain Sight? Did you see that?
No. What is
Oh my
this?
god, you got to see it. Everybody else has to go and see it. It's just a story of like this family that's in the LDS church. That doesn't play a huge role in it, but you kind of it does to a point. And 'cause I guess what Mormons believe, I don't exactly know what they believe, but something about like aliens take a part in it. I was like, I thought that was just Scientology,
Yeah.
but it plays a role in it. It's a really really good documentary. It's not like a series. It's just one like an hour and a half long show
Oh, I
about
want
it.
to watch it. I'll
Yeah,
check
you
it
gotta
out.
watch it. I told everybody at work to watch it, and they've been texting me all this whole week, like, "Oh my god!"
That
like,
is
as they're
awesome.
watching it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so like religion is scarier than some of this stuff sometimes.
Oh, I agree completely. If I had a scale, if I had a scale of like what I felt more threatened by, like being abducted by aliens or being blown up by some religious extremo, it would definitely be the religious extremist.
Yeah.
That
Uh-huh.
that person would definitely outweigh the aliens and the fear factor there.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, definitely. So those are my two stories. I wish I had my own to share. I've only experienced one thing in my life that I can't really explain, and it was such a tiny minor thing that it's almost not even worth mentioning. But I might as well at least say something since I've shared other people's stories. Um, I was at my friend's house, the one that started all of this. And this is probably a couple years after she first told me of some of the experiences that she was
Hmm.
having. And we were just chilling at her house. We were in the back patio next to her pool. It was probably 10:30 at night. And I was standing by the side of the house. It was kind of like an L shape. The house like kind of had like a 90-degree turn. And so I was facing one of the walls, and I was talking to my friend, and her daughter was standing next to me looking. So we were both looking at my friend, and this strange light like all of a sudden appeared on the roof of their house. And it was like almost like it was like a perfect, almost like it was not wasn't quite a square, so it was a rectangle, but it was perfect though. Like it didn't blur at the edges or anything like that. And it was
Huh.
maybe 2 feet wide by like a foot and a half or something tall. And it was maybe like this light blue color. So it was just a light, and I'm like, I just kind of looked at it. I like glanced up at it and didn't really think anything of it. But then it like shifted over, and like maybe just a couple inches. It just shifted over to the right a couple inches, and then it shifted back left a couple inches, and then it like just disappeared, like out of nowhere. Like you didn't see it. It didn't like, like if it was a car light beams or whatever, it would have
Yeah.
kind of like it would have gone off into a different direction or something like that, but it just like disappeared. Which, okay, well, they could have just turned it off, but we were in the middle of freaking nowhere. it
Yeah.
was it was Cape Canaveral, not
Mm.
Canaveral Groves, at which, of course, I'm sure nobody here knows
Yeah.
where that is. But it's like there's not that many houses in the area. They did have neighbors, but they were a couple hundred yards away. So there was no traffic on the road. So I know for sure it wasn't a car. I don't know what else it could have been. And my friend, the daughter who was standing next to me, she saw the same thing. And we both stopped and we looked at each other and we're like, what the fuck was that? But what was ended up being so strange about it was once I said something to my friend, because she looked at us like she couldn't see it because her back was turned to it, and she was like, "What's going on?" And we're like, Then we just saw this weird light, and we explained it to her, and she's like, "I saw that exact light inside my room a couple weeks ago." Like she saw it like on her wall. Like
Wow.
the exact same light. And other things had happened at that time that she saw the light. I won't go into that because I haven't gotten permission to. But yeah. So like mine, like I said, is not all that interesting, my story, but I have something to share at least.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well,
what
I
the heck,
guess we've
Philip?
been talking.
I'm the alien person, and your story beat mine.
I know. Well, and no one's heard my story yet, and we've been kind of mentioning it through the entire podcast. So I feel like I should share it.
Good,
You
that's a
know?
good point. Yeah,
Don't
you
you
didn't
agree?
share
You think
it.
so?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's super short. It's pretty uneventful, but it terrified the bejesus out of me. So I was probably 24, super like drug free, didn't drink a lot at that time. Was I think I was still in school, was working, and it was in the evening, and I was asleep. And I always, until this day, it was a dream I had, or a nightmare is more like it. I just woke up, and
This is the middle of
I
the night, right?
yeah, it was in the middle of the night. So I woke up, and I wasn't in my room anymore. I was just somewhere else. I had no other information than that. I was not in my room, and I was not in my bed. And my memory is a little fuzzy on the details, but imagine just laying down on a table. I have no idea the material, but it wasn't cozy and like covered in like fluffy sheets. It was like the closest thing I can probably like how it made me feel. It felt like an embalming table. So
What?
yeah, and like stainless steel. Like
Uh.
there's no reason for comfort here because you're dead. So, but anyways, so I just wake up and I can see nothing because of all the light. The only thing I can see is is a what you think of like the stereotypical gray, like super pale skin, large eyes, like just looking over me. And I can't see anything else. All I can see is this figure's head or
So,
face.
just one?
Right. Just one.
Mm.
Just one. And and just like your friend said, I was frozen. I couldn't move. And I don't know if that was, yeah, well, it was a dream. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, like, I hear, like, when your ears ring? So it started out like that. It was like a ringing in my ear. And it just kept getting louder and louder and louder and louder until it was this completely distorted electronic sound. Is the only way I know how to describe it. But it started off like very, very slight and subtle, and it just grew like zzz, like the Doppler effect. It just got louder and louder and louder and louder until it was like unbearable. And then I just woke up. And I was just laying in my bed.
That's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, that's my life.
Oh my god, that really is. That is really, really scary. Even if it is just a dream, it's really a scary dream.
Yeah. Well, it's like just like your friend said, and what I was telling you before I heard your friend's story. Like, I was in my 20s, and I had to sleep with the light on, like for I think about a month. Like, it took me a long time to get over it because it was that terrifying. The only other time I've been that terrified, I just watch like Paranormal Activity. So I mean, that's the level that it's on. But I've never had a nightmare. Like I've had nightmares where it's like it kind of shook me like for like I don't know a minute or two, and then I fell back to sleep. Never have I had a nightmare where I'm like, this I need to do something because I need to get some sleep. You know.
Wow, it's really fascinating.
So there you go. Yeah.
Yes, this is why we need more listeners.
Yeah.
So that we can eventually force him to go to a hypnotherapist.
No.
No, thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting. Zach will be disappointed that he missed it.
Zach will have to tune in.
Yeah. Zach, you better listen to this. We're giving you a shout out.
Yes.
Well, all right. I think that's all. Actually, I did want to bring up something first. Just because, like, a lot of times and what it very well could be in both your case and my friend's case is a lot of times they attribute these kind of effects to sleep paralysis. That's one of the very popular debunking tools used.
Yeah, I heard that, and I was like, oh, that must have been what that was.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it definitely could have been. The one thing, though, that makes me wonder, at least in my friend's case, is he remembers moving when he first got up. Like, it wasn't, I mean, he wasn't walking around his room, but he didn't wake up and he was paralyzed. Like, the paralysis came after, like, when he was staring at this thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a little bit different, but they also do say, I guess, in some certain types of sleep paralysis, people can hallucinate. At least that's what they say. Mm-hmm. So that could be, which I'm not trying to debunk people's stories and stuff like that. I'm just kind of
you just want to share all the information that's out there.
Yeah. Though it seems strange, that idea that it was that, because like, I've never experienced sleep paralysis in my entire life. Most people don't. I think I looked it up and it said like it's a very, very small percentage of the population ever experiences sleep paralysis. And
I've experienced it multiple times.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Well, they said it, and then the people that do it happens multiple times. It's not like a once in a lifetime kind of thing.
All right.
So maybe yours was sleep paralysis. Who knows? But I just wanted to throw that out there, that we're not totally being like, hey, yeah, it was aliens. Like, we can look at the other, the other possibilities.
It was just a nightmare, Nikki.
Yes, it was. But all right, so that was our episode, and like I said, I hope that we could do some more. I mean, I'll definitely, in future episodes, we will read probably more stories from the lady that I shared earlier. I also have another friend whose husband experienced something, and I definitely want to share that. But that one, the reason I didn't share his story was because I actually would like to interview him at some point. So we'll look towards the future for that. So I think that would be really fun. And then I also have my close friend that I've mentioned a couple times on here who has several things that she's experienced. So I'm going to ask her to either let me share her story or also have us interview her at some point. So look forward to that, and we look forward to hearing from everybody out there. So we can share your stories or interview you or whatever you would prefer.
What's the best way for them to get a hold of us?
You're so smart, Philip.
I try.
You could direct message us on Instagram at A Brief Gaze Pod, or you can just send us an email. Our email is briefgazeintotheabyss at gmail.org. Yeah, not dot.
Gmail.
At gmail.com. And it's not
you got that completely wrong. But it's better than what I did.
Yes, don't put the A at the front. It's just brief gaze into the abyss at gmail.com. I don't know why he set it up that way. But that's what it is.
Aliens.
We're on Twitter, but I think it's just called like brief gaze something. I don't know. I hate Twitter, so don't bother.
Yeah, Twitter's terrible. Twitter and Facebook. Ugh.
Yeah, we don't even have a Facebook account.
Yeah, that's old news.
Yeah. So yeah, please try to find us on those places, or just put a review on our podcast, and we'll see it.
All right. Well, cool. All right. Well, that's our show for this week. I guess Zach will be back next time, right?
Yep. Zach will be back, and we will continue on with our series on the Great Pyramids. We have not stopped that. We will be continuing that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate you, and definitely, if you have any experiences you want to share with us, remember this is a safe place, and we'd love to hear from you. And we can read your stories and talk about them on the podcast. So join us next time. We'll be picking back up our series on the pyramids with Zach Bell returning.
Yeah.
And remember, believe in yourself.
And aliens.